I think the overnight success thing, especially with the younger crowd, is probably the number one, the most prevalent message you hear out there. So you could be lucky and win the lottery. Don't recommend you buy the lottery, but it's 1 in 293 million. That's your chances. So yes, someone could get lucky, but I think it's all about showing up every day. Learn. Don't just do things blindly. Learn consistently. Apply what you learn. Learning is education and application, as they say. And if you show up every day, your lucky day will be there. So it is all about, work hard, play hard, give back. That's my motto. So it's really about working hard and learning from others. And this is where, for coaches, if your listeners, a lot of them are coaches, like you have experience, you have expertise, you've done things where now you're helping others. So don't think of yourself as a sleazy salesperson or as someone. You have something to offer. You're solving problems. You're helping other people reach their potential as a coach. So do that. Share a lot with people.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Wynn, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purple Circle, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses, and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Feras Alhlou, who built and sold companies in Silicon Valley and abroad, driving 70 million plus in sales and achieving an 8-figure exit before dedicating himself to helping other entrepreneurs make good, informed decisions at every stage of their journey. Feras brings extensive experience in business strategy, sales and marketing, operations, and M&A, working with entrepreneurs from those just thinking about taking the leap to seasoned business owners preparing for their next level of growth or exit. Feras' approach spans the complete entrepreneurial spectrum, helping people decide if entrepreneurship is right for them, guiding early-stage founders away from common pitfalls, working with struggling businesses to push through barriers, and providing individualized guidance to experienced entrepreneurs ready for transformation. His dedication to the Japanese martial arts of Aikido strengthens his conviction in finding harmonious resolutions to conflict, while his commitment extends beyond business to supporting nonprofits and mentoring youth and young professionals. Welcome to the show, Feras.
Pedro, thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, great to have you. Okay. And, I love the origin stories because I'm a comic book nerd myself, So back to the first edition, because every coach has that moment where they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now. Right. So when was that for you, Feras?
Yeah. I got the volunteering bug early on in my career when I was in college. Actually, I got married when I was in college, and my wife and I both got into helping others. I'm on the Red Cross board here in Silicon Valley, and I'm a lifelong blood donor. So helping others and being there for people has been with me for a long time. In the professional context, let me go back to 2003. This is a few years after we moved to Silicon Valley, and I was in a startup. I was a VP, big shot in this amazing company I wasn't the founder in that startup, but I was part of the management team who raised $96 million to build voice over IP, the technology we're using now. But sales was delayed, no revenue, no customers, no business. So one day the CEO walked into my office and said, "Hey, Feras, tomorrow we have a layoff and you are impacted." And that was a gut punch that you question so many things when you go through this agony of a layoff. Your self-worth, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Why me? All these negative thoughts. And I had a young family at the time, my wife and 3 children. So it was a really hard phase for me. It took me a couple days to recover. And then, you know what? I got to bring food to the table. So I started to look for a job, 6-7 weeks, not even one single response or an interview. So in a way, I was forced into entrepreneurship. So a business founder, a friend of mine, and I started our first business to build the websites for customers. We grew that, and then we focused on marketing, online marketing. That was the hot thing back in 2004 and 5 and 6. And we started to do actually training, part of that business. And then we became part of an international network of consultants, 1,200 of them. And I became one of the top consultants in that network. And then I started to do coaching and travel 15 or 16 countries around the globe, helping others grow their businesses in online marketing. And I really, that was when I saw the impact of the knowledge that we have acquired, the experience that we have acquired. I was able to share that with others so that they can avoid at least the mistakes I made and get to their goals and their dreams faster.
Super interesting, right? Well, I'm right there with you, right, about the layoffs. Like, for example, when year was 2008, not sure if you know what happened that year. I was in banking in Brazil and I was impacted by a layoff. And I carried that as a failure from myself. It's external, total external. So I'm right there with you when you mentioned imposter syndrome, and it's such a hard hit, right? When you have all dialed in, planned out, and something like that happens. But sometimes we blame ourselves, right? More often than not, unfortunately, but that's gone, thankfully. Now, I'm curious about one thing, Feras, because you have like a volunteering background with Red Cross and all that. And at the start, I imagine, especially coaches, they start like, I'm helping people. This is almost like advice giving. This is like a calling, but eventually turns into a real business around this, right? So when did you realize, okay, this is really a coaching business I'm in? I mean, was it the first invoice? Was it the first paying client, the first feedback, when you realize, hey, I'm a coach?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. And just on the layoff, I want to say, because we're hearing waves of layoffs every other day, right? I think if you're impacted or someone who's impacted, take a couple of days to assess what happened. Yes, I could have done better. Yes, this, that, the other, but then put it behind you and move on. I know people who really, really struggled and never came out of that phase, and they struggled in their life financially and otherwise. So if you're impacted by a layoff, assess what happened, learn from it, and then move on. Now, back to your question. Back in 2005 and 6 and 7, those Yahoo groups were very, very popular. So I remember I was a member of these groups, these online communities in a way, and people would ask questions. So we studied online marketing, search engine optimization, pay-per-click. We became Google AdWords certified. So I learned that all from the ground up, and we put a lot of time and energy into learning this new thing at the time, how to place people on top of Google. And I started to answer questions on this online community, and people were very appreciative. So that positive feedback loop was really helpful, was really rewarding. And it was all free, as you said. And then people said, can you help me? And then other people said, can you help me? And then we said, well, it looks like we have something to offer. And that is when we started to think about offering formal coaching. So it was started with just helping others who reach out. Like today, people go, every other day I get a message on LinkedIn. I just started a consulting business and I have a proposal to submit tomorrow. What do you think of this? I mean, just help out, quick answer, no money, nothing, no catches, no. Just help people out, and then business ideas will come your way, and business will come your way.
Love it, man. Now, I know you had before startup with Feras, which is the current business, right? The coaching business. You had previously 2 other coaching businesses. You established that yourself. And I know we talked about in the introduction, who do you serve right now? But I'm curious about one thing, because after you got rolling, right? And you're telling me that yourself, like you start advice giving, you start helping people out of nowhere. Who are the people that kept showing up? The ones you realize, okay, this is my tribe. I can serve best these type of people. Who are they?
Yeah, it does require a bit of planning, of course, and then iteration. So when we started, my co-founder and I, Eric and I, started this latest venture, Startup with Feras. We know we have the chops, we have the social proof. We built several businesses, a couple to 7 figures and 1 to 8 figure that we sold to a global media giant called Dentsu. So we've grown businesses from the ground up. Not overnight, not what you see on YouTube and Instagram. It took years. It took me 7 years to get to to get to 7 figures, and another 4 or 5 to get to 8 figures. So anyhow, that's a different discussion. But I think we didn't know, who do we serve? I have background in tech, in consulting. Do we want to help people go from 0 to 1? Just You want to help people go from 1 to 10. So it took us probably 6 months to identify, as we call the ICP, the ideal client profile, your avatar, your persona, customer persona. So we landed after some thinking and talking to others, and also market research, what's out there. So we saw, at least in our assessment, there was just a lot of content and a lot of services on helping people grow, but there wasn't as much on getting people started. So from that point on, from that realization, we decided to focus on helping those who want to start a consulting business. That's if you look at my YouTube channel, hundreds of videos on LinkedIn, 99% of the time when I'm not talking about Red Cross and blood donation, I'm talking about this corporate person, he or she, they're sick and tired of corporate. They want to have their own business. They want to be their own bosses, or someone who just started and they're struggling. So it took us a bit of time and some testing and some research and talking to others. And then we landed on this person, not someone who wants to do tech or software or SaaS or retail, someone who wants to get into services, into consulting.
Okay, this is going to be fun. First of all, my dad was a private consultant here in Brazil. Okay. And I worked at a consulting firm, Ernst & Young, okay? So there's that. But right now, what I want to do is a quick exercise, and that's the reason I said this is going to be fun. It's because I'm going to pretend I'm your ICP, your ideal client profile, right? So first of all, how would I be able to find you marketing-wise?
So so we focus a lot on content marketing. So if you video, so this is our primary channel. So we have content on every aspect of starting a business, from vetting the idea to testing the idea to business planning, sales, marketing, hiring, attorneys, accountants, all of that. So if you're searching on YouTube, hopefully the algorithm will be friendly and send you our content. Actually, that you mentioned, our number one video that's doing very well. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Starting a Consulting Business. And I think I've got, I don't know, over 1,000 likes and like 100 comments, they're all positive, with all the worksheets and the tools and 10 templates that people can use to start a consulting business. So we're leading with content for this venture. We're not doing any paid ads. We're not doing other things at this point, because we wanted to figure out how to crack the nut of content marketing, both on YouTube and also on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Sort of I was kind of looking for a challenge. So let's figure out how this content market, how this creator economy works, and it is a nice sector to be in. The whole creator economy has a lot of potential, is growing fast, very competitive, but we believe there's a huge opportunity there.
Okay, interesting. So continuing the exercise, okay, I watched your YouTube channel. I'm like, wow, these guys, they sound cool. I tried something on my end, didn't kind of stick because, it's a puzzle that I'm trying to go to get it together, but I'm alone and I kind of need you guys. Okay. So let's speed up the sales process. Let's say I got in contact with you guys, want to work with you. There's alignment. You can actually help me. Okay. So walk me through, Feras, how does it look like to work with your business, startup with Feras, and what are the potential outcomes I can expect out of it?
Yeah, sure. So our marketing funnel, if you want to call it, or flywheel, whatever the latest buzzword.
It is a funnel, Feras.
Exactly. Some people just like to be creative. Okay, flywheel. It doesn't matter. Same, right? There's consideration, there's awareness, all that good stuff. So basically, from the YouTube channel or from LinkedIn, we do have a weekly newsletter. So we want to get people's emails. And then from there, we do have a couple of digital products. We use a platform called Kajabi for courses. So we do have the entire curriculum in a very structured manner placed on a website called Black Belt Startup, blackbeltstartup.com. So basically people can go and there's a free course. It's how we capture email in case you did not sign up for the newsletter. And then from there, we have a sequencing email to get you to be more aware about our paid products. So we have a full curriculum that you can buy. And then we have a mastermind where you get the curriculum plus weekly calls with me to ask questions, part of the community. So that is our funnel. This is all targeted for the very early stage consultants. Now, if you happen to be an established consultant and you're at $500,000 a year and you're stuck and you want this one-on-one consulting with me, then we have that on our website where it's be more of an expensive option. You get dedicated time with me and we put a plan together. We executed the plan, but we don't talk about that at all. That's more like from word of mouth. People know me. We get that kind of consulting. And that's more for our established founders, people who have the money to pay a premium. But we don't talk about that because that would be confusing our audience. We only, in terms of content marketing, we're focused on this early stage consult.
So it's like a secret, the best kept secret in the world. You may have access to Feras, but it's not that, it's not the main core of the business. I get it, because capacity, right? At the end of the day, you only have 24 hours in a day. Now,
and I mean, paying $5,000 a month, not everyone can afford, or not everyone likes that approach, but we have clients who come that way. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, your work, it seems pretty hands-on right now, right? You're building a lot of content. It's a content funnel. So I'm curious about one thing, because I see a lot of coaches out there, and sometimes they advocate against burnout, right? And sometimes they're burning out themselves. And in your situation, I mean, not a lot of one-on-ones, and you do have it seems like you do have a team that helps you, right? You have a partner and all of that. But how do you think about capacity? So don't stretch yourself too thin, because sometimes coaches, they are burning out themselves. So even if you have some advice towards that, what do you think about that?
I mean, a coach is a business owner at the end of the day. So it's really it depends on what you want to do. So if you want to grow a business and go to 7 figures and 8 figures, of course you want to be efficient. You want to use systems. I talk about that all the time, but there's no escape. Entrepreneurship is 5 times harder than most people think. So if you want to grow a business to 7 and 8 figures, you can be as efficient as you can, but there's no escape from working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, at least in this one season when you're building the foundation. Over time, you can hire, you can delegate, you can optimize. But if you want to build something big, it does require a lot of hard work initially. So if you go in this entrepreneurship, including coaching, with this mindset that I can make it big and I can work 30 hours on some beach, I think that you're kidding yourself. It doesn't happen. Only on YouTube. On YouTube, it happens a lot, but in real life, it doesn't. So Kevin Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, he said when they started the business, he said he and one of the other co-founders, his co-founder flew to the Bay Area, and they agreed to work from 8 a.m. to midnight every day, 7 days a week for 3 to 4 months. That's what set the foundation and the momentum for Airbnb. So I'm not saying everyone can do this. Everybody wants to do that, but it does require a lot of hard work. Anyhow, I'll pause there. I know your question about burnout. I'm not helping there, Pedro, but I'll comment on that in a bit. But let me pause here.
Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, you got to realize there is a cost, right? Sometimes I think a lot of people that are venturing in being a business owner, they're thinking about the freedom, right? But to get there is a toll. There is a price, right? That's basically what you're saying to me. I got that right?
I mean, there's sacrifice, but I think you as a founder, what I used to tell people, get into entrepreneurship. Yes, it's amazing. Now I changed my position. I said, are you ready for that? Because it's a disservice. After all this gray hair, Pedro, I can't sugarcoat it anymore. So are you ready? And if you're not, get ready and decide on the journey you want to take. Do you want to climb Mount Everest? Do you want to just go on a short hike? You decide, but don't mix the preparation for a short hike with going on a 12-mile hike. It's different preparation, different mindset, different company, different things you have to be ready for. And in the same breath, I tell entrepreneurs and coaches, there'll be some sacrifice, but there's some bare minimum. You shouldn't sacrifice everything. Like I started this when I had a family, a wife, an amazingly supportive wife, and 3 children, young children at the time. If you have, you can't have 4 hobbies and hanging out with the guys and the gals, on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and then do all the stuff. So something has to give up. I think leisure time, TV time, video game time, and then do not sacrifice key relationships in your life. Do not, if you're a spiritual person, you have mindfulness is a big thing for you. Do not sacrifice that. Physical, eat healthy, work out, but you have to cut down on some of this stuff. There's a bare minimum, red line you don't want to cross in my mind. So you have some way to manage this imbalance of entrepreneurship, but something has to give for sure.
Okay, but it's not the Aikido, right? We're keeping that.
You know what? If I don't do it, I go there. Our class is at 7 p.m. and after working maybe 12 hours, I go there. And when I get on the mat and I'm getting thrown around and I'm throwing people around, I come out that I'm ready to work like another 3 hours. So because I love it. It's physical and it's physical exercise, but also I enjoy it.
Right.
And it gives me a whole lot of energy. And then you forget everything else. Like no matter how bad of a day you have. So whatever, your art is or your hobby is, you got to do a little bit of that. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm curious about one other thing, and I want to tap into the past, Ferris. Okay, a little bit of your past, which you mentioned Red Cross, you mentioned volunteering, right? And there's a hot topic in coaching, which is pricing. Okay. And the thing is, it's not about hard numbers. I'm going to talk. It's about the mindset behind it. Okay. So it's a very self-worth path. Sometimes, and that's the reason I brought up the pro bono. Sometimes I see a lot of coaches out there. They're trying to, deliver free services and all that. And sometimes they're getting no-showed. People have no commitment, no skin in the game because sometimes they perceive it as worthless, right? Because it's free. So it's a perception of value. So my question to you is, like, how do you think about pricing today? And were there any lessons, especially if you try to do that in a volunteer basis along the way, that shaped how you landed where you are, about this topic specifically?
Yeah, funny, my post on LinkedIn today was about pricing. I did an online survey and of the issues people face, new founders, and 50% or more said pricing was an issue. It's awkward talking about pricing, they underprice. And I get it. There are people who are price sensitive and when you're starting out, you want to get those clients. But most people, in my experience, I don't say most, a lot of people are not just looking for the best price. They want to make sure you're nice to work with, you're knowledgeable, you're reliable, you can solve their problem. So pricing, and I have a whole video on the ultimate guide to pricing models. So there are different ways to price. And I think initially, if you're just starting out, pricing is not even secondary. Like don't worry about pricing, close deals, get a few customers. This way you can practice selling, practice how to pitch, how to send a proposal, how to close a deal, how to collect money, how to deliver, get a testimonial, get someone who will refer people to you. So initially, for the first couple of months, do it at whatever price, just close the deal. I think to your point, if you offer something for free, some people don't appreciate it. So that there's a nuance there. But in general, if you're just starting out and you're struggling with sales, pricing should not be, in my mind, on the table. Later, if you continue that model for a long time, you'll run out of business. So I'm a big proponent of differentiating on things other than pricing, because it could be a struggle to the bottom, as they say. So differentiate on your responsiveness, on your expertise, on your something that's very special about you, make you stand out, differentiate on that. And so, yeah, those are my thoughts on pricing. But it's whether it's an online digital product or you're doing some one-on-one consulting, training, coaching, pricing is just one of the factors that people take into consideration when they're buying a service within reason.
Yeah, we can't sell with our wallet also, right? Like thinking, oh, this is too expensive because we're thinking that it is too expensive for us. That's one thing. But I love the balanced approach. It sounds like you also want to put in the reps. So not using pricing as a clutch for not delivering work. Sometimes you got to find a middle ground. So you can actually start working and start building your book of business. So I really like that. Now I want to shift gears for a second. Okay. I want to know where you're taking startup with Feras, so what future looks like, what's exciting, what's next?
So I'm not a 3-year, 5-year visionary. That's not me. I plan 6 to 12 months in advance because there's so many changes around, especially in the age of AI, right? So we want to take this brand to the skies, so we've I started a YouTube channel with zero knowledge about YouTube. We have 8,000 subscribers and growing. Same thing with our newsletter. Same thing with our LinkedIn engagement with the community. So we've been really, really, really focused on producing content, and we are working on a book. Actually, I think this is the first podcast I mentioned it. So we are almost done with the manuscript. So we'll be publishing late 2026 or early 2027. So that's been our core focus, is to produce content, valuable content, and then grow the community. So for the second half of the year, July 1st and going forward, is going to be all about marketing, being out there on the speaking circuit, just all of that. Still organic, but we want to just be out there. And obviously the book will help us in terms of positioning and in terms of getting, giving people a framework, in one place you can have everything you need. So we have huge big dreams about the brand, and to be the number one resource globally for people who want to start a consulting business. We're not talking to this is our audience. We want to be the number one resource for that. And potentially the YouTube channel could get into six figures. We do make some money from the content but it needs to be 10 times, 100 times more over the next couple of years.
Nice. Okay. Now I want to highlight a little bit your experience, right? Because I think our listeners could really benefit from it. You've been in the game long enough to hear all kinds of business advice, Feras. Some are good, some are terrible, right? So much noise out there in the social media. So, what would you say is like one piece of business advice you hear all the time that you think this is overrated or maybe misunderstood?
I think the overnight success thing, especially with the younger crowd, is probably the number one, the most prevalent message you hear out there. So you could be lucky and win the lottery. Don't recommend you buy the lottery, but it's 1 in 293 million. That's your chances. So yes, someone could get lucky, but it's all about I think it's all about showing up every day. Learn. Don't just do things blindly. Learn consistently. Apply what you learn. Learning is education and application, as they say. And if you show up every day, your lucky day will be there. So it is all about work hard, play hard, give back. That's my motto. So it's really about working hard and learning from others. And this is where for coaches, if your listeners, a lot of them are coaches, like you have experience, you have expertise, you've done things where now you're helping others. So don't think of yourself as a sleazy salesperson or as someone, you have something to offer. You're solving problems, you're helping other people reach their potential as a coach. So do that. Share a lot with people and don't be afraid of positioning yourself as the problem solver for their to get to improve in their life and in their career. So yeah, overnight success is probably the number one issue that I see, and you just have to put the work. You put the heart. You got to put the hard work in.
Powerful reminder, especially in the sales bit. Like I said, I was a high ticket sales closer, and when you stop trying to push your agenda and you start listening, and you're coming from a place of serving, be of service, the entire dynamics change. So if you're going like a coach and you're like, oh, I don't want to be salesy, just don't. You don't have to pretend you're a salesperson. Just be yourself. Try to serve, deliver value. Eventually, there will be a gap, and you're the person right in front of them that can fill in that gap. It's that simple. So people sometimes they go into tactics, and I'm going to say this and they're going to say this, and then a magic will happen, and then I'm going to close them. Dude, I mean, that I don't work like that. I never liked working like that, but that's just me. I might be off here. You can correct me.
Spot on.
Yeah. Now,
I tell there's no way you should not outsource sales early on. Over time, you can hire, but initially you have to sell. You have to build that muscle. You have to, and I'm a big proponent of asking founders and coaches, go out there and meet people, because you'll learn about their needs. As you said, you'll listen to their issues. They're unhappy with their incumbent. They're struggling with this or that or the other. And then you practice your pitch or conversation starters, right? That's really important. So, and if you're a coach, you're a people person. So you have to be out there, and it's a numbers game. I remember my close rate when we started was 1 in 20. So of every 20 proposals, I'd close one. I mean, it's an awful rate. Later, years into it, and we were now selling Fortune 100, all of that. Our close rate was 1 out of 3. We got better at it. We have systems for it, but also we were better at qualifying the lead. So a lot of times everything is right on your end. Like you have the right solution, the right pitch, the right proposal, but this is an unqualified lead. And there are books on this. I have videos on what's an unqualified lead, but over time, this becomes second nature. It requires the reps for you to be better at it. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Now, diving into a little bit about the qualification process, I see a lot of coaches out there, and I want your point of view on that. It's like they have this scarcity mindset sometimes. Like bills are knocking on the door, let's face it. Sometimes it's not that easy, but they're like taking every single sales call without for example, a pre-qualification filter, right? They don't fill up a form. They are just like taking in people and talking with them and wasting their time. How would you give like an advice for an early days coach on how to manage that feeling, the oh my God, I need to pay my bills, and at the same time I don't want to reject people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. That's right. Ideally, you have a financial runway before you start your business, right? So and I have a live stream, an hour and a half live stream on building your financial runway. But that aside, again, initially it's okay. That's what I tell entrepreneurs. You got to build the sales muscles, which requires reps. So initially, take every call. Initially, deal with this very difficult client. If you make this very difficult client happy, then every other client will be delighted. So initially, for the first 5, 6, 10 interactions, no problem. But you cannot be in that mode forever, as you said. You run out of business, you run out of time, you'll burn out because you're putting so much time and energy and effort. You're putting your heart into this sales proposal or this delivery, and then people are not appreciative. They're paying you pennies. So you cannot be in that mode forever. So I think part of it is science. In the book, we have a chapter called the science of sales, and then the next chapter is the art of sales, right? So there are certain things you can ask. You don't say, "Hey, what's your budget?" Right? No, it's a conversation, and then you can drop a range. Like talking about money is awkward for those who haven't done sales, right? So there are ways to their tactics to deal with that. And specifically, if you listen, what is it that they're doing today? They're hiring a consultant. You can go and research that consultant's website, see how much they charge, right? You can ask others. So I think if you're actively listening to customers and capturing that information and doing your research, you'll be in a much better position to present yourself as a problem solver for the issues that they have, including giving a price, including qualifying them, and then give them a price range that would work for them. It does take reps to master this and for it to become a second nature. But those some of the things I mentioned will help you get there.
Nice. I love that. And Feras, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, and we're going to have all the links in the description, okay? But what's the best way for people to find, Startup with Feras and how to connect with you?
Yeah, thank you, Pedro. So you can go on YouTube at Startup with Feras, and Feras is spelled like my first name, Feras, or on my website, startupwithferas.com. And LinkedIn, you can just search my name. So yeah, those are the channels.
Okay, so there were a few things I feel the need to highlight that you shared today, okay? Let's start with your origin story, right? The Red Cross and volunteering. And from that, you were impacted through a layoff. I mean, I've been there, done that, so I know how hard it is. But being so open about your struggles, I mean, that's a true asset for that's a key asset for a true coach. I'll put it simple like that. I think vulnerability, being open to share your challenges are something like I always commend people on doing if they're coaching, because you're going to end up asking hard questions for your coachees, right? It's only fair you can navigate your own struggles too. So that's one. The other point, like addressing a major gap that you realize from creating the business from the ground up for the consultants, so instead of just trying to navigate through, hey, I'm going to find successful people and I'm going to sell to them because they have the money, not necessarily your game, right? It sounds like serving and it's connected with the Red Cross and all of that. It's like you want to really create something that will help and impact a lot of people, in that space. So kudos to you on that. Last but not least, man, the sacrifices of business ownership. I love the reminder. I'm a business owner myself. And funny enough, it's interesting when we go into business ownership, right? Because when I was in banking, I was at a consulting firm. When I clocked out, man, I clocked out. I mean, I didn't think about anything else. But when I'm a business owner, it's hard to turn off the switch, right? And sometimes the tricky part is that it doesn't feel like work, You're just pushing and you're like having fun, but it takes a toll either way. You're going to get depleted, but when you're looking at it, you're like 10, 11 hours in, you're like, oh my God, what's happening with my performance, right? So this is just my long-winded way of saying, Feras, that I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate you being here and sharing so openly today, It was great having you on.
Thank you so much, Pedro. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the conversation.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.